Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now July 11th of 2020, and ever since the very end of the Skywalker saga, a lot of fans around the world have been very intrigued about the future of the Star Wars franchise by Disney, Lucasfilm, and of course George Lucas, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and others coming on board over at Lucasfilm to really take Star Wars fans in a different direction and to introduce a brand new mythology that fans have never seen before in the past. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, the one thing about Disney Star Wars is that we do know that they are now heading in a brand new direction in order to really give Star Wars fans something to look forward to. You know, they're really focusing on reuniting the Star Wars fans and to really kind of give fans a better mythology than ever before. What they want to do is essentially that they want to bring Star Wars to the same exact level as the Marvel Cinematic Universe, also known as the MCU, that is really going to utilize a lot of new timelines, a lot of new eras, if you will, in this new Star Wars franchise or universe at that. Now, everything related to George Lucas, Jon Favreau, and Dave Filoni is that they are all working together in order to create a better future for Star Wars, and to also regain many of the fans that walked away from either The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker at the time. So, we got over 10 years worth of Star Wars TV shows in the mix for Disney Plus alone. Just let that sink in for a moment there, because that's separate from the actual new Star Wars movies. Now, about the new Star Wars films, what's really exciting all has to do with the new Star Wars trilogy of movies that will, in fact, involve creator George Lucas on some level. Now, of course, with both Disney and Lucasfilm now finished with The Rise of Skywalker, they are now primarily focused on their new Star Wars trilogy of films, as well as their new Star Wars universe. It's explained that both Bob Iger and Bob Chapek are currently hard at work on developing a better and brighter future for the Star Wars franchise. It's described that it was Chapek's plan in order to bring on George Lucas for the new Star Wars universe and trilogy to become a part of the new Star Wars movies, to serve as a co-writer for the new films alongside the new writers coming on board for the new mythology of Star Wars. Now, it's described that George Lucas will be using many of his abandoned ideas before Disney took over Lucasfilm, one of which is going to introduce a brand new Sith King that lives on the world of Exegol in the unknown regions, and that Lucas will be creating a new light whip design for the character of Abeloth in the new Star Wars movies. Now, it's described that Abeloth is set to have a new light whip lightsaber design for the new Star Wars trilogy, and is aimed to primarily use new Force powers in the new Star Wars trilogy of films by Disney. George Lucas will also introduce the legend of the first Skywalker in this new trilogy in order to create loose ties or connections to the Skywalker saga and to tell the true origin of the very first person who went by the simple name of Skywalker. The first Skywalker by George Lucas by legend is described to be a new character that was created by the Force in Legend by the Wills, and will be explored in this new trilogy as far as the legends of the character goes in general. So here's the thing about Disney Star Wars, and especially creator George Lucas, is that he is very ambitious when it comes to a lot of his older ideas that never really made it into Star Wars Legends content, or didn't even make it all the way over into, the canon material by Disney. And now he has his chance to really implement it into these new Star Wars films. So this really does speak volumes. This tells a lot of fans that, Disney is also very ambitious. The fact that they have over 10 years worth of Star Wars projects, and how they're also focusing on the new Star Wars, TV shows and the books, novels, and comics, to actually make them all united, to actually make it like its own universe on the same exact level as the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, the character of Abeloth getting a light whip is something very different, something very exciting for this new universe. Of course, they are making major changes to this character of Abeloth in this new Star Wars trilogy by placing her in a new timeline, doing some, new appearance changes to the character, and so on and so forth. But for the most part, they're going to stay generally accurate to the character. And that, I think, is the most exciting thing, because let's face it, Abeloth is by far one of the biggest villains in the old expanded universe in the 1990s and the 2000s, you name it. The other thing is this, and what's really exciting about all of this is the fact that George is aimed to become a co-writer for these new Star Wars movies and handling them forward with other writers alongside him. So, that tells us that George is going to be able to implement his vision of Star Wars. It's going to have that George Lucas feel to it. It's going to have that feel of the originals and the prequels mixed together in a way, where I think that a lot of fans are going to accept these new Star Wars films well more than the sequel trilogy movies. That's honestly my gut feeling here, is that Disney's really going to knock it out of the park with these new movies. They know they can't afford any more failures, especially after the global crisis, and especially after the Star Wars fandom backlash. So, with that being said, of course, let me know what you think about this entire scenario between George and the new trilogy. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to morning.